Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Cheryl Selman, and welcome to the Love Code. This is a show dedicated to inspiring you, supporting you on your spiritual journey in this lifetime. It's a show that offers healing, insight, and most of all, a place to find that inner peace that connects us to who we really are. So it's a pleasure having you join me today. If you are listening for the very first time, I, first of all, want to welcome you, and I'm so happy you're here with me today and hope you'll be joining me every week. If you'd like to get the archived version of these shows, if you can't be here live, then there are many ways to do that, and what I recommend is to, first of all, go to my website, which is Dr. Cheryl Selman. Opt in there because I send out this show and the other show I do on Progressive Radio Network every Thursday at 4 p.m., which is called What Women Must Know. So you'll get them coming to your inbox. Or you can always go over to my Facebook page, like me there, What Women Must Know, and I post both the shows there on a regular basis, so you'll catch all the great interviews that I do and a whole lot more. So let's just jump into things because I have a really inspiring guest. We're going to be talking about a topic that is pretty fascinating. It's how the medical world is not equipped to deal with those awakening to the energy beyond. So what happens when we have a spiritual awakening, when we all of a sudden have the veil lifted from our eyes? How does our society cope with it? What do we do with it? And how can we navigate through those times? So today, my guest talking about this really fascinating subject is Joseph Joey Nittolo, who was not your average spiritual seeker looking for a path to enlightenment. He was a hardscrabble kid raised on the streets of Hollywood in the 1970s by his mother and father, who was a pimp and a heroin addict. He pursued and achieved financial success. Joey leveraged the intuition he gained from the streets and began a successful career spanning real estate and film production. He produced several motion pictures, including writing the original story of A Man Apart, starring Deisel and Larenz. He also produced Pool Hall Junkies, starring Christopher Walkin and Chazz Palminteri. The peace, acceptance, and stability he experienced came not from his origins, but from the surfing community which he entered as a youth and from the family he started at the age of 25. So Joey was riding the tide of his success until one day in 2017, while in the shower, he had a sudden burst of energy which heightened his frequency, made him open to hearing and perceiving what others could not. His family, friends, and the doctors thought he had gone off the deep end, but what was the truth, or what he was experiencing, was a Kundalini awakening, one that enabled him to experience everything that is in, quote unquote, the space between, the consciousness that connects all beings. So Joey is here today, and we're going to be exploring his journey and his inspiration to create a new podcast and many other projects that will be serving humanity. And it's my great pleasure to welcome Joey to the show today. So hello and welcome.
Hey, how are you doing? Thank you. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to have you. I have been going through your bio, your extended bio, looked you up on the website. You are such a fascinating person, Joey, and you're such an inspiration to all of us to experience what happens when people, whether through a journey that takes us on to a spiritual path, maybe out of some event, stressful event, or in your case, a spontaneous awakening, which can be so disruptive, and we're going to talk about what happened to you, that allows us to awaken to who we are, what's going on here, and how to best serve at this time of change and transformation. So I think maybe a really good place to begin our conversation is to tell us more about you and your own personal story and journey.
I'm trying to think where I'll start. I'll start where you left off. It was a very kind of all of a sudden thing. I was definitely not a spiritual person whatsoever. What I say is I believed. I guess I believed in money. What I saw is what I knew. And from being on the streets, I guess I attributed to the things that I gotten I called it street wisdom, or when you're raised on the street, you have a certain sense of awareness because you're always, your guard's always up. So you definitely have a different, a heightened sense. So I attributed my ableness to go out, and I had maybe a 7th, 8th grade education, but with that street wisdom, I was able to, successfully start several businesses, produce movies, music videos, very successful, accounting companies, a lot of different businesses. I really didn't know what I was doing, I guess. I guess I was just fumbling through. But I was able to meet a woman and get married, have 4 kids, and create a life I didn't have. My dad was a heroin addict and a pimp. Being on heroin, I'm sure that it was hard for him to even show love. Or he was a nice guy, and I know he loved me, but I think it's very numbing to be on that drug. So I didn't have a lot. So I wanted to create a situation, a little castle for my family, and what I didn't have, I wanted to give to them. And so I separated myself from that. I bought a house, started building houses as well in Malibu. And at the ripe old age of 48 years old, like I said, I believed in money. I was able to stop doing street, I was off the street back when I was about 24 years old. So, but I was able to acquire several businesses, and I was very successful. And it's one of those, I don't even know how to explain it. I guess I can explain it. I will explain it. Looking back, it's almost like mood swings. I started to get mood swings, I guess the best way of explaining it would be. Almost like what people would call I had a panic attack, but it wasn't a panic attack. It wasn't panic. Racing thoughts, but different. It was different than my normal rational way of thinking, and I wasn't very rational, but my normal way of thinking. And then I'd get very emotional. So one of the things that happened, though, was during this time, I ended up going to a Boy George concert with my ex-wife, and my best friend had passed away. And it may have been about a month and a half past that. Well, as I was walking to the bathroom, Boy George concert was on, and as I was walking to the bathroom, I could hear my friend singing the Boy George song in my ear very clearly. So clearly that I raised my hand to slap him 5. And when I saw myself do that, when I saw my hand in there slapping the 5 part, it scared me because I knew, I was like, wait a second, that's it. Why would I do that? You know what I mean? I started to, I was in a bit of I just heard him. I know I didn't imagine that. I didn't imagine that. So your mind starts to kind of buck a little bit because you don't really know what's real or not real, but it felt very, very, very real. So I went back to the seat, and at that point in time, I'm looking at them. They're listening to music, and I look over to my ex-wife, and I go, Jeff is with us right now. I said to her, and she looked at me, and she's like, Jeff is always with us. And I'm like, oh, no. No, he's with us. And I knew something was up. I knew something was up. I wasn't on anything. I wasn't on no drugs. I wasn't on nothing. I wasn't on anything. So we left there. I obviously was in my head thinking about this the whole time. Got home. Ended up waking up in the morning, and it was full blown. My friend who passed away started talking to me as I'm talking to you right now. And I didn't know what to do. Actually, what happened was I went into the shower, and he started talking, and I'd see images. I'd start getting goosebumps. My body would start changing, but it got more and more fascinating from that point. I tried to keep it under the hat because it just seemed I didn't know if it was my imagination or if I didn't know what it was. but I knew, but I felt. So I went to his sister, the person I went to his sister, and I said, I think Jeff's trying to talk to me, communicate with me. She believed in that type of stuff at the time, and still does. And that wasn't my normal thing. This was very different for me, completely. I didn't understand what conscious community. I didn't understand any of this stuff. But I told her, and she listened, and so I kept talking to her about the experiences I was having, and then it just got so much to where I had to share it with everybody, my ex-wife, my kid. I just couldn't. It was so. I can't explain the feeling. It just like love so much when there's somebody that you know that you think that passed away, but you know that they're there. They're really there, and they're communicating with you. You want to share it with the world. Like you, for me, I couldn't hold it in anymore, you know. And so when I did that, that's when my wife looked at me and she goes, you need to see a doctor. And I'm like, I don't think so. I don't feel crazy. I'm telling you. And so she waited for a minute. She tried to be cool and be patient, but it got to the point where I think I was scaring my family a little bit because what was happening. I'd keep going into my shower. I'd get up at like 3 in the morning and start meditating from 3 till about 6 every day. And I'd never meditated before in my life. So they started experiencing me doing a lot of different things out of the norm that made it seem like I was crazy, but maybe I wasn't doing anything. It just looked like I was crazy because it's not something I would have normally done. And I didn't know what to do because everything had just changed. My thought, the way I think, I didn't know how to, I was trying to maintain a normal state of the way I normally was, but it was just too much. And so at a certain point, my wife said, unless I went to a doctor or seek medical attention, I couldn't stay at the house anymore. Hello?
Which was a pretty difficult thing to have to deal with,
Oh no, it was beyond difficult. But what I did was I said, all right, I'll do that. And I wanted to know, for one, seriously, I wanted to know if I was crazy or not crazy. I didn't know what was going on. The first thing your mind starts doing, or at least my mind, was spirits start talking to you like, okay, I must be dying. So I'm going to die soon, so this is the first step, And then I didn't die, so I was like, okay, so I'll roll that one out. So your mind will go into a chain of trying to understand what's going on. Your mind doesn't understand. You're going through a change completely, and so it would appear that I was and sounded what people would say is crazy, a 5150. So I went willingly. They called paramedics to my house, which I would have went to a doctor. It didn't have to get so dramatic, but it did. And they asked me some questions. They almost let me go, but all of a sudden, she persuaded for them to take me, and I went willingly. But as soon as that had happened, and I didn't even realize what I was doing at the time because I was trying to make everyone happy. But they 5150'd me. They took me for a 3-day hold, and I thought I was just going for a normal, go to the doctor, ask them, answer questions, and leave. But as soon as I said, they asked me questions, the thing that they were about to leave my house, and she goes, wait a minute, he's fooling you, he's tricking you. Because I was very normal talking, but there was this other part that wasn't normal, and this is where she got me. She was asking him about the people he talks to. And they said, excuse me, so you hear voices? And I go, well, yeah, I've been hearing voices. And they go, that was it. Boom, that was it. Yeah. I should have said I felt voices or said anything but that. Because as soon as I said that was enough to have me locked up. Because I didn't understand. I didn't know if it was hearing, feeling voices, and I just had to kind of be honest because I really wanted help. And it was the only problem was the people that were there that were supposed to help me had no idea how to deal with that situation. which is sad, because if you really think about an awakening and you're finding your union with God is really what we're here to do. And when that happens for us as humans, it's supposed to be the most amazing thing on the planet to happen to someone. And you go to people that are supposed to help you, and they'll put you on medication or tell you you're crazy.
As opposed to if you lived in India, they would start worshiping you. Make you a guru.
If you're a Buddhist, look, this is the thing. If you're a Buddhist or Sikh, are you a Native American? That's like it's like puberty. It's your rite of passage. And the difference in Western medicine and our Western society is that any place here in the United States, just about that you go in any medical facility, if you're having an awakening, they're gonna 5150 you if you can't fake your way out of it. They're gonna 5150 you. They don't understand. It's an energy based. It's energy based. Western medicine doesn't understand. I mean, I think now they're starting to, and that's where we work with a nonprofit called Assist. What they do is, it's called American Center for Integration of Spiritually Transformative Experiences. And so they train other physicians like yourself, not doctors, but therapists, to show and train them how, when people are going through awakenings, because a lot of these symptoms mirror schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, ADHD. A lot of these diagnoses that they'll give you for certain things that people are doing. I just think, I just find that we should just get a second opinion, because I feel that, look, God created, right? If we really believe God created us, so if God created us, He didn't create us with a problem. He knows He'll take care of us. We don't need the medication they're going to give. Like, I'm just saying get a second opinion. I don't want to tell anyone not to take medication. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying that. Go ahead.
So Jerry, I'm just going back to the story, because they put you into what was to be a 3-day hold, but turned out to be a lot longer.
Well, what happened was, exactly. So they Hello?
Are you still there?
Can you hear me? Yeah. It's probably coming out. So they put me on a 3-day hold, 5150. And the problem was with the 3-day hold is they go up too. And so when I went in there, I saw what they were doing. They were I'm not going to say they were taking advantage of people. They were, though. The people in there were getting beat up. When you go in those facilities and people that they say are mentally unstable, or, they also will be violent. And I think they're violent for the fact that when people are on the streets, it's a survival mode. And a lot of these people have survival modes, and they'll appear to be crazy. But once you start talking to them, which I did, they're not. Some of them are. What is crazy? Really, define what crazy is. So I feel that mental wellness, I feel that everybody needs a therapist. Everybody needs to talk it through things. Everybody needs that. So a lot of the people that were there, I just felt needed that, and so I started protecting them. And when that happened, I got a 5250, so which is a 15-day hold, and I become a ward of the state. And then it becomes a real problem.
Which means you give up all your rights. You give up all
your
done. Rights.
Oh, you're done. I didn't want to take medication, and if you don't take medication, that's against going to orders. You'll never get out. If you don't take what they tell you, I was like, I don't want to take that. And they're like, well, then you're not cooperating with what we think that you should be doing. And until that time, then you're here. So
and that must have been really terrifying. You lost all your freedom, and you had no one to really understand and support you at that point.
Oh no, let's just paint this picture here, okay? So this happened on Thanksgiving, all right? My whole family's there. I had thought I was about to have a Thanksgiving situation with my family of 20 people there. They strap me up, take me away. I now have somebody talking to me. My best friend who died, now I'm sitting here with him talking to me. I'm trying to convince people. They don't believe me. I'm now at a mental institution. I've been checked in there, 5150, because I'm telling them I hear voices, okay? And now it's like I'm actually now looking, I'm not worried about voices. Now I'm protecting the people that are there because I don't like what's happening to them. So now they're looking to me like if I'm violent and crazy, okay? Mm-hmm. So it kept escalating, and I was just like, this is really happening. Like, wow. I remember I went to the bathroom. I went into the shower. I took a knee. I popped the shower on, and I put my head down. I didn't know what to do, and I said that I did this. I talked to my friend Jeff, who was communicating with me, and I'm like, what do I do? Like, and I had just a little bit of silence, and then all of a sudden I just heard, "Be of service," and I went, "What?" Be of service. I never really understood what that meant before until that point. Not even that point. It took a little bit, but I ended up getting up, and I didn't understand. I was like, be of service. What's be of service? What? Be of service? Next thing you know, I was in a mental institution, and I started just cleaning, the pee and excrement and the things and all the stuff that was around. I just started cleaning and helping the people that were in there. Just I wasn't, I wasn't trying to defend them anymore. Really, I was, but in a different way. I just felt that I would just start cleaning and helping them as much as I could. And as I started doing that, I wasn't as bothered at my situation as I was when I first went in. I started to kind of just, I guess, blend into the situation and just, scope out while I was there. I don't know. It just started to be, I started to calm into it. Let's say that. But I did want out. I didn't want to be there. And so I immediately was on the phone with attorneys, and I was able to get out of that hold, but I wasn't able to go home. My ex-wife was like, nope, you can't come home. You have to take the medication. And so what happened was I got sent to a rehab because I had smoked marijuana, and that was all I was on that I'd taken, and not at the place, but before that. So she had said, well, he had to be hallucinating from the marijuana. He had to be, and they're like, well, that doesn't happen. But the only way she'd let me go home is if I checked myself into that rehab. So I checked myself in. So I went straight from the mental institution to the rehab. And then, I went to the rehab, and the first thing that happened there is I was able to see what they were doing to the people there, and I was like, this is, I just started to see everything just started looking different as far as the way people were treating each other. Like, really go to a rehab and say, there's a couple people being helped, but in their business plan, it's for people to relapse. Let's really be real. So, ultimately, I went through these things, and I didn't want to take medication, and I really believed what was happening is real. And, I remember having a conversation with my mom because, everything is, the more I tried, the thing is the more I wanted my ex-wife to know that I wasn't crazy. I wanted my kids. They were the most important thing in the world to me. You have no idea. But
and they didn't know. They were scared too.
No, they were very scared. But the thing was I wanted them to understand. I was like, so you want them to really believe you, right? If something's happening to you, the people that you trust the most, you're like, it's like if you were sick and someone would say, well, where does it hurt, right? You'd say it hurts right here. Well, I was trying to explain to them I wasn't hurt, but something was happening, and I was trying to convey what was happening to them and it just didn't, they weren't understanding. Like, they were like, what are you talking about? And the more that I was trying to convince them what was happening, the more that I seemed crazy, you know. And so the one thing that my ex-wife at the time, because for me I was very successful and making money for me was very easy. So at the time I remember I said to her, and I looked at her, I'm like, look, I'll give you everything I have. I want you to believe how real this is. Like, I'm not kidding you. Like, here, like, take everything. Like, I am so serious. And she just goes, now I know you're crazy. Mm-hmm. And I was like, there was no, you know, there's no, like the more, it didn't really matter. Like, I was on a different path. And my vibrational frequency changed completely. And when that happens, it's just people around you, the things you do, the things that are important to you change. And that's, you know, my mom, because everybody was, you know, I ended up getting separated from my wife, and I wouldn't take medication. I built the house, our dream house in Malibu, and a week after I built it, I ended up leaving with my bag. I never ever went back home, ever. You know, she was convinced I had brain damage or, you know, something. It just went from one thing to another. But now look, I've painted kind of it, and I didn't mean to, but like it was a sad situation. Okay, like, granted, but ultimately it's not. It was the most amazing thing, and I'm grateful for every minute of every second that happened. And meaning that in my family and what we've learned through this process together has been amazing. So yeah, of course it was difficult. Of course it was tough. Of course but it happened for a reason. And so I do believe that if something like this can happen to a man like me, and I wasn't a horrible person, but I do believe that having awakening and feeling connected to the planet, every individual, people, everyone in a way to where I would want to help them the same way I'd want to help my kids. Like, that's like a good thing, you know. So if this would happen to more people, just imagine the world we'd have, right? Can you imagine if it just started happening, you turn on and more people would start lighting up. They start becoming awake all over. You could almost, like how people have friends. You know, like on Instagram, you have friends. You'd have friends, but they'd be lighting up. Look how many people are lighting up. Light, da, 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 da. It'd go viral. You'd have a better world.
And, well, this is the journey we're on, and I can really appreciate how disorientating it is to suddenly have extraordinary, I guess you would call them experiences or connections. I mean, I have a question for you. Was your friend Jeff guiding you through this? Was he giving you support and assistance? Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna answer that, but I just want to finish up the last thing I said with about the lighting, the going viral with people becoming awake. And I say that because it's that beautiful for something like that to happen. But Western medicine, it's a crime against humanity that we're not recognizing this. And so I'm going to end with that. This is something that needs to be addressed. It's for us to grow and to evolve consciously. This has to be addressed completely. Like, it's more serious. I think if not serious, but if we really, really want to do something, we really all have to bang the drum in a loving way for this to be changed and for Western medicine to understand this, and so that people can go through this in a way that they can be helped and guided properly and not be looked at as if they're crazy, because that is not okay. Well, I think this is a challenge at this time because particularly our culture, and I have lived in India and I have studied with Native Americans and Hawaiians and various teachers. So there are the cultures that understand this and support it, but it's not something that our culture is really good at because it's a very secular culture, and we do value fame and money and all the things that go along with the construct that the ego has created, that what we need to survive. So when you have a breakthrough and you see that that's an illusion, that it's not the money, it's not the fame, it's not the power, that who you are is truly an expression of a divine love and light, and that the purpose of your existence here is to find a way to be of service, as you were told, that is the real connection to our soul of who we are, is really a foreign concept, especially if you have a spontaneous awakening. It's really hard to find places unless you are already involved in a spiritual community that understands that. But people like yourself, you weren't. You know, you were stuck right in the middle of that materialistic world, and you suddenly saw it in a different way, and you knew that that wasn't your path or the truth, and because that's not the path that'll ever allow us to experience true love and peace and harmony. So, you know, what a journey you've been on, Joey, because it was took a lot of strength to stay true to what you knew was true, and even going through that, you know, hospitalization, totally out of control, but you had the guidance there to help you through it.
Yeah, and that was the last question you asked me was about if Jeff was there to guide me. Yeah, he. I mean, and to the point, it was actually funny. I mean, you could write a book, it could be a movie. I mean, it was like imagine your best friend. Like I watched movies about this type of stuff. I've never read a spiritual book in my life. So I didn't. This was like, you know, imagine just being normal, everyday guy, and then someone's talking to you, like completely making me laugh, communicate. Like it was great. So it started out like that, but it ended up becoming, you know, much more than that. I mean, between that time and now, I have communications with 8 ascended masters, Yogi Bhajan, Paramahansa Yogananda, Chartreux Rinpoche, Trungpa Rinpoche, Sitting Bull, and they came to me at different periods over the past 3 years, and I've been on a journey. I've been learning and being taught, and I've become a yogi. Is what I've become.
So Joey, having that grace of being able to be open to receive communications from these masters who are no longer in form, what are the messages they're giving you? What is the teaching that they want you to pass on?
I'm not ready to pass on any teachings. I think that right now I'm being shown certain things I'm being taught. You know, each of them have different reasons for I've become a Kundalini yoga instructor, teacher. Once this started happening to me, and I went through the mental institutions and several mental institutions. I was at the UCLA mental institution the same day Kanye West was there, and I was yelling because he wanted the whole floor, and I was pissed. I mean, who? What? Does he know who's talking to me in my head? So I was just I had been to so many different places and nothing, you know, like what to do with me. They didn't know, and what was happening was I was picking up more energy and understanding energy and tapping into the energy out in the ethers. And so I started doing yoga, Kundalini yoga. And it wasn't that I started doing Kundalini yoga, like I went there. The same thing happened. I was in my shower, and well, let me tell you, I said it at least 6-7 times, I wasn't spiritual, nothing. Well, inside my shower, a man by the name of Yogi Bhajan started communicating with me. And if you know who he is, he brought Kundalini yoga to North America.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And now this is what I was saying to you before, and I really said this. I'm not kidding. In my communication, I was actually giggling. I thought it was a joke. There's no way this is happening. You know, my friend's one thing. Okay, I understand him. I've known him since I was 12 years old. It's a whole nother deal. So now this is where I start to think I might be going, like, what's going, like, this took a second to understand for sure. And that's what led me to Kundalini Yoga. One of the things that happened, he started talking to me in the shower, but one of the last things he said to me was, welcome home. And I was almost not mad, but just kind of like, I'll say, like, I can't explain it. Not angry, not mad, just like, because I lived there. I built that house. So this guy that was in my shower in my head is telling me welcome home. I just didn't sit well. But I went to a friend of mine who's Sikh, and I said, hey, you know that guy you guys pray to, the dude, you know, and he goes, yeah. He goes, he said, sing, sing, sing 3 times to me. He goes, Guru Singh, you've got to see Guru Singh. That's my teacher for 8 years. So I said, okay. So 2 days later, I go see Guru Singh. And I said, I'm talking to your teacher. And he goes, what's he saying? So I just, for like 20 minutes, I just rambled on to him about everything that had happened to me. And I looked manic. I was kind of in a frenzy telling him I felt half crazy, half not, half what's going on. So, but he sat very calmly looking at me, and then I kept going. And he wouldn't speak. He didn't say anything. And so after about 20 minutes of me talking and him saying not a word, the first thing he did is he looked at me and he grabbed his beard and he leaned in and he looked at me and he goes, welcome home. And I went, what? And I almost lost my balance. It was like everything, like a bell went off over my head, like I got almost like donkey kicked. I didn't know what to do. I can't even explain to you the feeling. Even now I get it. My whole body starts surging with heat. It's like, imagine like such a realization at that point when he looked at me like I knew that it was real. Again, I was like, wait. So that led me to my teacher, Tate, and doing yoga and going to India and, you know, becoming a Kundalini teacher. And then when I became a Kundalini teacher, all those things that I was making me act a little bit kooky started to settle down, and I started to ground the energy down and ground it in and really understand how to balance it to where it was like, the new normal, you know. I didn't seem agitated. I wasn't, because I did look agitated. I was acting a little kooky because I didn't understand, and I had all this other energy going through me, so I started looking a bit off. And so yoga, Kundalini yoga, it saved my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Gosh, there's so many directions I could take this conversation, but I really want you to talk about this path you're on of service and the things you are creating based on all the resources you've gathered in your lifetime, and how you are now directing this spiritual purpose and the spiritual mission, the spiritual connection that you awaken to, how you are bringing this into the world and how you are helping these lights to turn on throughout the world.
Well, the whole idea was when I was in India, I had, they call it downloads, or, everyone has different God shots, whatever you want to call it. But I started picking up on this information to do podcasts, which I had never done a podcast. I didn't even understand what that was, at any rate. And I didn't even know what it was going to be about, but I started writing down just ideas when I was in India. And what it ended up evolving and turning into was the space between. The space between is just that intangible space that's different for everybody. It's that hypothetical space that's in between here and there. It's that balance between heaven, man, and earth. So I felt that I was going in between these two different realms and getting this information, you know. So I wanted to find a bridge and come up with a platform to talk about these experiences. So what I did was I created this platform, and the first person I wanted to interview was my ex-wife. And she wanted to trust me. We weren't great yet. We were still in very rocky waters, but everyone's like, why do you want to interview? You can just do this, more people you can talk to. And I'm like, no, I want to hear from her side, her point of view, what she saw, because it's so important, because she still believes that I potentially went crazy. So it's important to hear it. I want to hear it. What did she see? What did she feel? What did the kids see? What was her experience? Because it's real, and I want her to feel what I saw from my point of view. And then I want to have, you know, a bridge to see what we could do for other people that are going through those experiences, so that we can embrace them and not, you know, judge or react in a way that makes people feel that, you know, that they're less than if something like that happening, and it's supposed to be amazing. That's a problem. We have to make an adjustment to that, is the best way of putting it. Just let's make an adjustment.
So you have this podcast, and people can listen to it by going to your website, which is
it's spacebetween.com. Yeah, it's spacebetween.com.
Spacebetween. Right.
.com. And we interview athletes, musicians, artists, and it's bridging pop culture and spirituality. And it's just, this is everywhere. This is the whole thing, is, you know, bringing this in everyday talk. It shouldn't be, you know, a lot of people, you start talking about spirituality and you go, whoa, it's like talking about politics. I'd rather talk about spirituality than politics. Give me a break. But it's I don't know. I just feel if this happened to me, I'm an everyday type of guy. You know, like I surf, motocross ride, surf, a skateboard, mixed martial arts. You know, that's why I said, I was like, there has to be a joke. You know, I was like a real rough person, like growing up. I was a street guy. Next thing you know, I'm feeding homeless people. I'm like, I want to kiss people. I want to hug people. I didn't even. It was such a change, and my family didn't know what to do, because I was such a polar opposite of what was going on, and it really was the most amazing thing for me in my life, and so I wanted to share it with that podcast and share these experiences that other influencers or other people are going through. It's like you hear Jim Carrey, you hear Russell Brand, you hear some of these people that, you know, are out there, and you hear them talking the way we're talking. So it's happening, and more people are turning on, more people are waking up. And so I think this is a great time to talk about it, and that's why I created the platform.
Yeah, how wonderful. That's a great vehicle to get out, just like this show is a vehicle to help people with a similar message, support people. You have some other projects that are happening as well that are quite interesting. Do you want to share a little bit about the concerts?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the other projects that we're working on, when I started came up with the idea for the podcast, I did it. What happened was, right when I got out of the mental institution the very first time, I had this desire. I wanted to help homeless people. I had to. So I did an art show, and I got some of the biggest street artists in the world to donate art for homelessness. And it went well. That was in the beginning, too. My family thought, oh, he's losing his mind. Why is he feeding homeless people? And it wasn't, though. It just was something that I would normally do. So it was another one of those things I did that had made him kind of question my sanity. But I'm doing another one that will be on November 16th. We're locking in the location right now. Snoop Dogg will be performing. Also, we are working with Acon Lighting America on that project. There will be an art show as well with about 15 artists. These artists will be listed on our site on spacebetween.com. and this information also will be on our site, as well as raising money and awareness for ASSIST. ASSIST is the American Center for the Integration of Spiritually Transformative Experiences, and you can go to assist.org if you would like to go there to just check out any of the info on them. But we'll raise some money and awareness for other causes, homelessness. There's about 6 other nonprofits that we're working with at this event.
You know, this is so inspiring to me because you have taken your gifts, your abilities, your connections, your resources, your reputation that you've developed over the years, and you now are really going out into the world from a place of service, being able to really support whatever cause that you're called to support, and you know, whether it's homelessness or, you know, other nonprofits. But that to me is so profound, Joey, because that's really what we're here to do, is to serve. And each of us finding the way that we can best serve in our own unique way to do that. And there's no greater satisfaction. You know, you're talking about just wanting to kiss people, feeling that love. You know, when I had a spontaneous awakening, it was very similar. It was out of the blue, and I had no reference point for it. But what I felt was this, you know, overwhelming sense of love. And that is when we really, some people call it a samadhi experience, kundalini opening, many names for it, but it's when we're connected to our soul, which is in our heart. So the state of consciousness is in our heart, as I have been taught, and that the mind, the rational, cognitive, mental aspect of ourselves is there to support the heart, to be a servant to the heart. So you can find a way that you can use your brilliant mind to really serve, which is what you're doing with all the projects you're creating, which is so exciting to see that. And I'm sure just you're a magnet, right? Just things are happening, falling in place.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we're all magnets. I think that we are all antennas receiving information. And what I've done is pierce the veil so I can understand the information that's coming and going and the information that's mine or that I'm creating. So I feel that, you know, letting other people know and letting them, you know, share my experience with these people so that, you know, it's like, I'd want to know, look, these people are walking around with the most amazing instrument on the planet, and it's themselves. So if they really understood that, it's so fascinating because you know it's like I said, they play these funny little jokes, you know, and they put the most amazing thing right between our shoulders, you know. It's right there. It's all right there. Our hearts, it's all inside. All those things we all can go and find inside. It's not like we have to look at a guru or somebody else out there, like someone else is going to do it for us. It's not. It can be done by looking inside. And then once we do that, then we can go do other things. But we need to figure out and find who we are and remember, wake up, and then everything starts to become more clear. We become less confused, and all these things and idiosyncrasies that we have, I think it's spiritual depression. We're trying to find our way home.
Right. So what would be your recommendations to people listening if they are on the spiritual path or feel like they want, you know, that it's time to be drawn to something other than the rat race they've created for themselves? What are some of the suggestions, recommendations out of your experience to help people?
The only thing I could think of is go fall in love with yourself. Go fall in love with yourself. If everybody started to love themselves just a little bit more, they'd know how to love everybody else. I just, it's really, it's that inner God that we all carry, we all walk with. We're all individually amazing human beings that are universally connected, that we all share. We're all, so it's being kind to one another. It's really simple things, like one step at a time. Just smile, be kind, reach out. When you said, look, we're beings of love. That's really that's who we are. And the reasons being of service is so important is that point of somebody needing something and knowing that you're helping this person that needs that, and the feeling it gives you. I mean, and you'd never think that, because everybody's out to try to take and want and need, So it's just a simple shift, and then all of a sudden the things that you want most in life start appearing, but not for the reasons you think. And that's what manifesting is, or being in the flow.
So do you have a healing with your family? Do they understand and appreciate the process you went through and are open to the journey for themselves?
Yeah. This is the new normal, of course. It's me and my ex-wife are friends, and I have a fiance, and they're friends, and my fiance watches my youngest son, and my middle son works with me on the podcast, and it's just the new normal. I didn't choose anything over my family. I just found a path to God, source, and I pursued it, and in that pursuit, things around me have changed, but for the better, like amazingly, the way I see things. My mom just passed away 2 weeks ago, and it was difficult at first to deal with it, just because of what happened and how quickly she went. It was a very sudden situation that happened, and it had to be probably within about less than 48 hours. She started communicating with me, and that had never happened like that, to see her, because I watched her pass away in front of me. And so I was in a state of shock from seeing that. Trying to process it. Let's say not state of shock. I was trying to process that information. And we were in the funeral home, and there's like 15 people, and everyone's crying, and I was just kind of in the state of still and processing, let's say. And then they're showing us something on the screen about one of the offer people that are coming to the service. And one of them was like jelly preserves or whatever, and they put your name on it, and they give it to all the people that come to the funeral. And in my head, I heard somebody go, "Are they going to feed me to all the people that are coming to the service?" Like a joke. And I started laughing out loud, very loudly, in front of the whole room. And everyone looked at me. Everyone looked at me. My sister looked and opened her eyes, and I just shook my head like, no. And I go, God, that sounded just like Mom. And so my sister comes up to me. She says, "What are you doing?" And I go, "Nothing." I go, it's just weird. I heard she just sounded like Mom. It just sounds just like her, and she said something real funny. Well, the next day, this was the second day, I went to the bathroom, and I was going to the bathroom, got off the toilet, and somebody goes, "Don't forget to clean your hands." And I went, "What?" and I was like, "What?" And that was it. She was right there. She had my attention, and she started communicating, and that was interesting. That for me, because I saw what happened, how it went at the time, and and of course it makes it different when you know that there's something else, and you know in your heart. Yeah. I don't mourn. You don't lose people. We don't lose anyone. Nothing's lost. It's life after life. We're here for a small amount of time, and then we move on. And all these experiences are very important. And really what we're here to is to find our union with God. And to go through an awakening that's it. So I think we need to embrace that and show the people and have ways of people that are going through the experiences, which is everybody. everybody's going through these types of experiences, but they call them different things because Western medicine calls them a litany of different things. There's a cocktail of names for spiritual, different things are happening to people. But they're diagnosed differently because of Western medicine doesn't recognize it. So until that's done, we're going to keep on running into a wall. So I feel that someone should make that. Put that on your email. And we should keep putting that out there until people start changing it. It has to be changed.
Well, you're certainly on a mission to help do that, and we've actually come to the end of the show. It's just been a fascinating conversation, Joey, and I want to thank you for sharing with us the depth of your journey and the experiences that you've encountered, and most importantly, as you were saying, ground this new energy, because when you have this Kundalini awakening, it can generate tremendous amount of energy that we don't know what to do with. And as you ground it, as you found your way, you were guided to the path that let you ground what you experience so you can live in a more balanced way with this gift and with this connection that you have. You're out there really creating huge transformation on the planet. So it's such a pleasure to meet you. It's such an honor to have a chance to talk with you and to be inspired by what you're doing. So thank you so much for everything you've been doing and for sharing with us today. And people, please go to the podcast that we have been talking about. It's spacebetween.com. My guest today is Joey Nittolo, who has been very gracious in sharing his journey with us. Thanks so much, Joey. It's just been an absolute delight having you on the show today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And to all of you listening, thank you for joining me here on The Love Code. Come back next week for more inspiring, uplifting, and healing conversations. And as always, may your week be filled with love, peace, and harmony. Bye for now.
Satnam.